NFL news and notes as we start the second half of this 2024 season tonight in the Charm City. Week number 10, though, before we get to it, some injury news, of course, as everybody is back on the practice field getting ready for Sunday. One of the main stories this week, of course, Donnie, is the health of Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott. We shared after the injury suffered in the road loss to Atlanta. The Cowboys now 3-5. The hamstring injury would shelve Dak Prescott for the next few weeks. How serious exactly? The Cowboys were mulling over the decision. Should he be placed on injured reserve? It's even worse than they initially anticipated. It is a partial avulsion. We'll hear from Dr. Donnie in a moment, but what that means is at least part of the tendon is off the muscle. It's not a hamstring strain or a tear. The muscle, the tendon is off. That is not good. Apparently, Dak Prescott is seeking a second opinion. I think he's checking in for office hours with Dr. Donnie Rightside. You know hamstring injuries, DRS. You know calf injuries, DRS. You are not an official doctor. It should be declared. But what is Dr. Donnie saying about the prognosis for Dak Prescott?
Actually, I do have my doctorate from William Patterson. It wasn't obviously one of those where it's like I actually went through and got my doctorate, but
massage
since being
therapy.
an ambassador from the school, I believe I can speak on this at this point. And also, from my trials and tribulations with hamstring injuries. Here's what we love again. He left the game with a hamstring injury. So I immediately text my buddies. I'm like, hey, you know what? Dak's out next week. Like, I don't need to see anything for the rest of the game or after the game. So post-game press conference, Dak goes up there, and he's tough. Athletes are always tough. They never understand what a hamstring is. They just don't understand. Hey, look, you know what? I'll probably be okay. I'll see if I can give it a go next week, only to find out when you get an MRI, you might be down for the rest of the season. This is absolutely devastating news for Dallas and comes at the worst time. Now, I know why they're contemplating, should we put him on IR or not? Because you're having a terrible season. If you put him on IR, mandatory 4 games. Maybe he's a quick healer, can come back in 3 so you get him back sooner. But look at the next 3 games for the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles, Texans, at the Commanders. Dallas, the season is over. You just paid Dak a ton of money. Don't ruin his career. Get him the surgery, sit him down. If he comes back late in the season and it's already over, at least he can get some reps in for next year and he can be healthy to the start of the offseason. It doesn't make any sense to rush Dak Prescott. Now, maybe you would have. It was like, you know what? We're going to have the Giants and the Panthers on deck, and we can win these 2 games with Cooper Rush. You're not winning. I get newsflash. You won't win any of the next 3 games right now. It's over for your season. Rest Dak Prescott, put him on IR, bring him back later just to get back into the flow.
The FanDuel Sportsbook will not hang a price on the Cowboys right now with the injury uncertainty. We know it's a bad hamstring injury for Dak Prescott, but his timeline of even a potential return to the gridiron, there is not a playoff price, and that's all we care about. What the price is out there, though, DRS, 100-1 for the Cowboys to win the NFC. It is the 4th longest number. It is nearly double that of both the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, of all 3, and the Bears. The Cowboys have no chance. They had a limited opportunity, even with a fully healthy Dak Prescott, based on what we had seen so far this season. They have 0 chance. And yes, we remember the 5-game run for Cooper Rush back in 2022, right? Where he won 4 games for Dallas. His connection with CeeDee Lamb was prolific. I don't expect that to be the reason that Dallas resurrects their season. The odds makers don't either. 7-point spread, DRS, in favor of the Eagles on the road this Sunday in Dallas. And oh, by the way, the Cowboys are winless, 0-3, both straight up and against the number at home in the Star this year.
By the way, first place schedules, which is what you love about the NFL. They love parity. So if you have a great season the season before and win the division like the Cowboys did, you get the victor goes the spoils, and boy, it's spoiling. Look at this, though. Take out the Giants from the equation, which I'm still going to read them of who they played. It went Ravens, Giants, Steelers, Lions, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Commanders. That is an absolutely gauntlet schedule. And when you're not having a good season already and you're injured on top of it, you don't expect too many wins. But could this be a saving grace for Mike McCarthy? What did you want me to do, Jerry? I didn't have Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb came late to camp. And look how hard our schedule was. And I lost Michael Parsons, and Lawrence was out. You gave me a running back that was Zeke Elliott. I thought he was going to be good, but he wasn't. Maybe I can come back with a 3-year contract. Show me some stability here, Jerry.
Nope, not a chance. It makes it even easier to dispatch of Mike McCarthy probably at some point in the middle of the season, Donnie, not even at the end of the regular season. Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb both dealing with their own injuries, expected to play on Sunday as the Cowboys host the Eagles. Not sure it makes much of a difference. More quarterback injury news in Jacksonville. The Jags are a 2-win football team, and Trevor Lawrence is dealing with an upper body injury that led to the Jags adding C.J. Beathard to their roster. Of course, he has familiarity with the franchise. Mac Jones is still the backup quarterback if Trevor Lawrence were unable to play. They are asked for a guy that really missed very few football games in his high school, college, and start of his NFL career. Lawrence has been dealing with some injuries the last 2 seasons. It's why Jacksonville is putting together a poor product on the field.
And it's going to get even more poor, if I can make that comment here, coming up over the next couple weeks. And what are we playing, hockey? An upper body injury? Is that your noggin? Because that's what it sounds like. He took a shot last week going over the middle and diving to the head, and then also multiple sacks upon him. But does it matter? Who are you playing this week? The Vikings. They're going to beat you. Where do you go the following week? Oh, it should be easy in Detroit. They're going to beat you. After that, a healthy Texans team. Turn out the lights in Jacksonville because it's over.
And like the writing on the wall, DRS is already there for Mike McCarthy. Of course, his contract does not extend past this season. You feel that it might be the same for Dougie P. Doug Peterson is the coach right now of a 2-7 football team where the outlook is not much better. Jacksonville 4.5-point home underdog against Minnesota on Sunday. I think part of that probably bakes in the uncertainty around Trevor Lawrence. That line would only grow by a point or two, in my estimation, if Lawrence is ruled out. We'll talk about Christian McCaffrey making his way back for a 49ers team to be here for the second half. He has not played this year. He was on injured reserve. San Francisco is an even 500, 4-4, but a victory entering the bye, and now perhaps getting healthier on the other side. The update on CMC and a potential update, if there needs to be one, on Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. It's up next as we continue the NFL news and notes on the early line. Live right here on the early line. It is a Thursday on SportsGrid. It's the start of the second half of this NFL season. Week number 10 kicks tonight in Baltimore. We'll preview Thursday Night Football when our second hour begins in just a few minutes. End of this opening hour, though, DRS, and the end of the opening half was not overly great for San Francisco. The 49ers just 4-4, even 500. The short NFC Championship favorites entering the year now trail the Detroit Lions by nearly $3. But reinforcements are on their way back. Christian McCaffrey, elevated off injured reserve, back at practice, limited participant early this week, but Kyle Shanahan saying he is pain-free. It is a good sign for CMC, who, of course, has not played in a game yet this season for the Niners.
Oh, it's a great sign. If you're getting anything of what we've known to come here from CMC out there in San Francisco, this is going to help them quite a bit, because you see when Mason starts to say, like, hey, look, they're not even missing CMC at all. Technically, with some of the numbers, you weren't, but then you see as he's the lead back and gets injured and he can't be the lead back, and CMC is your everything running back, running the football and catching the football. And sometimes, Ben, it's just nice. You huddle up and you look back there. Boy, we got to make a play. You look around the huddle. Oh, there's CMC. Just give him the football. He's going to make it happen at this point. This is a great sign for San Francisco, but are we just banking on he's coming back as an MVP caliber running back? And we know CMC has been injured in his career. Now coming off an injury, what's that going to look like? 10 carries, 15 carries, 20-plus touches. We'll see coming find out here. But that is a really good move for San Francisco. You just hope he's back to what he was.
Achilles tendonitis in both legs never sounds good. That's Dr. Ben's prognosis, but you hope that he is healthy. If there was a running back, DRS, to change an organization's outlook, to change how the betting odds perceive a team that has often been viewed very favorably by the odds, 49ers have been booked as a favorite in every single game they have played since the start of last season, all 28. Christian McCaffrey is that running back. San Fran 4-4 straight up this year. They have also covered in all 4 wins. They have scored 30-plus points in all 4 wins. They have gone over in all 4 victories. A victory on Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys a couple of weeks ago in week number 8 to enter the bye, and now they get Christian McCaffrey back. 5.5-point road favorite this Sunday in Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. DRS, of course, Deshaun Watson is not returning at any point this season after rupturing his Achilles, but General Manager Andrew Berry saying yesterday, quote, "It's always possible for Deshaun Watson to come back and play football for the Browns again." This reporter tweet from Mary Kay Cabot, who covers Cleveland, was ratioed, not because of her take, but because of GM Andrew Berry saying Deshaun Watson might come back and play again for the Browns. DRS, take us through that guaranteed contract, the guaranteed money, and what a dead cap hit looks like if the Browns were even trying to move on from that contract. Spoiler alert, they can't.
Yeah, exactly. And let's go back to the normal waves that normal waves, let's just say, in the contract markets, right? You see the contract, 5 years, 230. That's not outlandish. It's like, okay, that's a contract. How much is guaranteed there? 102 million, 105 million, 108 million. Oh no, the entire $230 million is guaranteed, which means you can't escape it. So now when you take a look at some of the cap hits, most teams say, you know what, let's front load that contract because on the back end of it, if it doesn't work out, we can get out from under it. But this is 100% guaranteed, and they went the opposite, Ben. They went light on the first couple years and back-ended it, and now he's injured and he's terrible. So if you want to say, sit him on the bench next year, it's a $73 million cap hit. Like, whew, thank goodness it's only one. No, it's not 1 year, Ben. The following year, $73 million cap hit once again. And in the NFL, sometimes they give you cap relief. You can choose. You can get it all accelerated in the one season or spread out over 2. It's $140 million that would either go onto your cap, which would take up over 50 to 60% of your team's cap space, which means you can't even field the team. So let's just say you take the 2 years there. It's 25% of the cap for your team each year that's not actually being on the field with one football player. It's astounding. And also the NFL owners, they got to be raising a glass of champagne tonight to Cleveland because they were angry when this contract was signed because of what could have happened if it worked out. But the fact that it was so epically bad, nobody's ever going to see these type of numbers guaranteed ever again. So they have to like that.
They probably point and laugh at Jimmy Haslam, and they have every right to do so. You see those numbers. Deshaun Watson has a 9-10 record in Cleveland. They actually won 5 of the first 6 games last year that Watson started. He did not complete all 5 of those victories. They, of course, were 1-6 this year, and Watson did not throw for more than 200 yards in any of those games to start off this season. It will go down as the worst contract in sports history. Hour 2 next. What a way to kick off the second half of this 2024 NFL season. What a way to start our second hour live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. DRS week number 10 kicks off tonight with a dandy in Baltimore, an AFC North rivalry, a divisional duel with huge second half implications between the Ravens and the Bengals. It will be our focus for this opening half hour of hour 2. We'll talk some college football after that with Mark Zinno to get you set for the second Saturday in November. So much football to dive through here in this second hour on this Thursday on the early line.
Absolutely, there is, and it's a great Thursday night football game. It's not one we're worried about who the quarterbacks are going to be. You have 2 of the best quarterbacks in the sport going toe-to-toe tonight in very good conditions and coming off of the game where they played each other already to a 41-38 final. Are we saying we're going to get 70-plus points in this game? Not necessarily, but these 2 teams are going to go down slinging tonight, and I can't wait to watch it play out.
That game was an absolute banger in week number 5. The Bengals trying to resurrect their season after an 0-3 start and their first victory of the year, testing the Ravens that started a 5-game win streak, was in the 5-game win streak for Baltimore as well. The Bengals were a 2.5-point home underdog. Justin Tucker hit a game-tying field goal to force extra time. And then Joe Burrow and the Bengals got the ball first in overtime, unable to take advantage. Bad snap, bad hold on a field goal attempt. Derrick Henry broke off a big run, set up a game-winning field goal out of Justin Tucker as Baltimore emerged victorious 41-38. The Bengals barely missing out on a cover as that hook as a 2.5-point underdog. But DRS, when Joe Burrow has been an underdog of at least a field goal or greater in his NFL career, he has been prolific covering numbers. And that's what we will see tonight. 6.5-point spread in favor of the flock. They have won 6 of their last 7 after a winless 0-2 start to this year. The Bengals, we said, 0-3 to begin this season. A large hole to try to crawl out of to maybe, just maybe, see the postseason. They have won 4 of their last 6. It's a 6.5-point number in favor of the Ravens at home. Short week, Thursday night football game, divisional duel. It makes sense to see the home team lay in a good amount of points. Total at 52.5. DRS, where do you start your breakdown for this marquee matchup to begin the second half of the year between the Ravens and the Bengals?
Same way Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I didn't think there was any way, shape, or form that Kansas City would lose that game. Now, was it close? Yes, but they didn't lose that game. I have that same type of notion tonight. Right around a touchdown spread, they should be able to win and cover this game. And you did bring up a good point, trying to resurrect your season for Cincinnati, Ben, after losing the first 3 games on your schedule. And yes, hey, look, they're 4-2 in their last 6. The 4 wins, Panthers, Giants, Browns, and Raiders, the dregs of the NFL. The losses in between there. The Ravens, very good football team, and the Philadelphia Eagles, a very good football team. Now, for the I said it multiple times. I wasn't high on Cincinnati coming into the season, but sometimes, I sort of box myself in by saying there's no way that Cincinnati can get to the playoffs. Then I take a look at the teams that Cincinnati is surrounding, like those teams stink too. So yes, there is a pathway, but I'm going to tell you right now, the next 3 games for the Bengals are absolutely pivotal. You take a look at the Ravens game on the road. You take a look at the Chargers game on the road. You take a look at the Steelers game at home. They have to go 1-2. Again, they're under 500. I'm telling you, there's still a chance for them if they go 1-2 in their next 2 games. You just can't lose all 3. I don't think they're winning tonight. I love the Chargers. I'm not sure they can win there. Maybe it's the Steelers December 1st once they get back home. But keep in mind, if you're playing on a Thursday night football game, you get that mini bye built in before you have to go up against the Chargers. They must go 1-2, and I don't think one of those wins is coming tonight, though, to be honest.
Yeah, DRS, it is going to be a difficult spot, but it's a 6.5-point spread in a divisional game. I mentioned how good Joey B has been as an underdog of a field goal or more in his NFL career. 16-3 ATS. They have been an underdog of more than 3 points once this year, week number 2 in Kansas City. That game, of course, decided by just a single point. KC did emerge with a home victory, 26-25. In fact, the Bengals have done most of their damage this year away from Cincy. They are 3-1 straight up away from home and a perfect 4-0 against the spread on the road. Joe Burrow, 16-3 against the spread as an underdog of 3 points or more. A dog twice this year for the Bengals, 1-1 ATS. Over in both and barely missing out on the cover of that game, of course, against the flock in week number 5. Donnie, it is interesting looking at these 2 teams. And it's a short week Thursday night football game that starts the second half. Of course, the significance of this game will make it not feel like a short week Thursday night game to start week number 10. But it still is, based on the logistics and the scheduling of where this game, and when, I should say, it takes place. The Ravens have gone over in 8 of 9 games this year. In fact, the Ravens have been an underdog of 5 points or more 4 times this season, 2-2 straight up and against the spread. And they have gone over in all of those 4 games. 52.5 for a short week Thursday night football game to begin week number 10. That is the total. What do you expect in terms of offense because of it?
Lamar the star. That's what you expect. He's been absolutely on fire this year, maybe headed towards a 3rd regular season MVP in the NFL. And the one thing you know about Joe Burrow, it doesn't matter who he's with, he's going to be able to complete passes and push it up. It's just a matter of that electric front 7 for the Baltimore Ravens. If they continue to get home, it's certainly going to make that a lot tougher on Joe Burrow. But also keep in mind, last game they played, Jamar Chase did have 10 catches for $193 and 2 scores. But the guy that's not going to be here tonight, T. Higgins, 9 for 83 and 2 scores in that football game as well. And if I'm correct here, I want to say 2 out of the past 3 games, T. Higgins has had multiple touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens, not playing tonight. And I don't even know if we're going to activate it, because last week was interesting to me. As you know, I loved over 1.5 touchdown passes for Joe Burrow, because I'm like, you know what? Burton's going to be able to step into that mold. That guy was inactive Sunday, not because of an injury, because he doesn't even show up to practice anymore. So it's like, man, how many weapons do we have? Like, I like Gesicki tonight, and I think he has a chance to do some good things. But, boy, it's just going to be Burrow and Chase against the entire Ravens team. I don't know how that's going to hold up. At least when you had Higgins, it's like, boy, we can really get after this. We just need to stop on defense or two, because those 2 guys are there. Is it just going to be Chase tonight? That's going to be a tough hill to climb.
The Ravens have not been.
So there we go. Look, too much electricity this morning on a game for Thursday night. But yes, just getting back to the original point here, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, formidable on the outside. And that is the way that you attack the Baltimore Ravens, who tried to add Tre'Davious White here to give a little bit of a background at this point, so we can say, you know what? This defense can hold up on the back end. But we are expecting points, Ben. And from the main aspect of it, we're talking about November the 7th. This is supposed to be cold weather and windy conditions where we're getting 62 degrees at kickoff tonight. Why aren't we getting fireworks? Do I take it the 52.5 to the over? I don't think I'm going to do that on a straight wager, but I'm going to play props as if we're getting a good amount of points tonight.
DRS, I don't know if I would have the cojones to go under, right? Just to be like, oh, it's too many points. Maybe it's not worth a bet on the over because it feels too lofty, but an under not necessarily feeling like the right side. Joe Burrow has thrown 5 touchdown passes in a game twice this year. Last week, of course, against the Raiders, thrown for more than 250, had 392 yards in 5 passing touchdowns in week number 5. Against the Ravens. And the flock is the worst secondary in the NFL, allowing 281 yards per game. DRS, can we also go from Dr. Donnie to Fashion Police Donnie on the other side? Purple Rising, the alternates tonight for the flock. We'll talk about it next as we continue Thursday Night Football. Now, before we give you the actual X's and O's to continue our breakdown, how the props look and will dictate the outcome for Thursday Night Football, I don't know if we have actual clip reel photos or any B-roll images. Oh, we do. Hey-o. All right. We already showed you Dr. Donnie earlier in the show. Now it's time for Fashion Police Donnie. How does this affect his handicap for Thursday Night Football? The Purple Rising uniforms, the Ravens will debut tonight. New matte purple helmet, DRS, decked out in fully purple tonight as well. It's the first time the Ravens, in their history as a franchise, have used a non-primary black helmet as what they will display on the field. Does it help your chances of the Ravens winning and covering tonight? Might it hinder based on these uniforms? Fashion Police right side.
No, it looks pretty clean. It looks pretty clean right there. Now, that's only like the practice uniform version of it. So I would like to see how, I guess it's purple pants that they're going to wear as well. I just wish to see the logo on the helmet. Just give me the regular Ravens logo on the helmet. I think that would be better than that Ravens logo right there. But I'm not, there's no, as the Fashion Police here, we're not arresting this uniform right here. I think it's all right. No. You get a pass and, you know what I mean? We're good. We're good to go.
Word on the street is the Giants are wearing the Century Red uniforms over in Germany this weekend. We shall see. But listen, I love the Purple Rising. I think it looks great. I think when Clemson shows the purple uniforms, I think when LSU, don't even get Joe Lisi started on the purple uniforms of the Bayou Bengals, perhaps this Saturday night at home in Baton Rouge. I like the Purple Rising uniforms of the Baltimore Ravens. All right, DRS, let's continue the prop breakdown. We talked about Joe Burrow, 5 passing touchdowns last week, 5 passing touchdowns and nearly 400 yards in the first game against the flock this year. They have the worst passing defense, giving up 281 yards per game throughout this season. Lamar Jackson is more than likely not going to win a second consecutive MVP award or his third in the last 6 seasons, but he is certainly playing to an MVP caliber level. If the Ravens are going to win this game comfortably tonight, DRS, against the Bengals defense that has been a mixed bag this year, what do the Ravens need out of Lamar?
No, it's just being average. Like average Lamar has been MVP Lamar, which is crazy. It's like, hey, we need him to throw 40 times and 400 yards. Like, no, you need him to throw 27 times for like 265 and 3 touchdowns, which feels like he does that on a week-to-week basis. Here's the problem. And again, it's not actually a problem because he's an MVP and he's really good. You saw last week. Yeah. Word coming out, a little bit banged up, and you say, okay, what does Lamar usually give you on the ground? 35, 45, 55, 65 yards here. Didn't run much last month, and not for a lot of yards. So if you are looking to attack Lamar Jackson once again on the ground, which he can do, I'm sort of staying away from those rushing numbers. But you see the passing numbers, they're not hindered at all. And hear me out on this.
At all.
The wide receiving core, Zay Flowers is their number one. Is he a true number one like a Devontae Adams? No, not necessarily. He's just a lead dog in that clubhouse. But now you have multiple guys that can get open. You don't have Likely back as a set tonight, but you still have Mark Andrews coming back as if he's getting back to pre-injury Mark Andrews. There's no reason to believe that Lamar Jackson cannot throw for more than 2 touchdowns in this game, listed at a minus 128 price right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Because if you're looking at the MO, the one thing we know, Cincinnati's defense is bad. The Ravens' offense is really good, and it's centered around Lamar Jackson. So if you say, Donnie, do you like over 232 in his passing prop? I would be a fool to say no. But if you said of his passing props, passing yards or passing touchdowns, which way are you going? It's the passing touchdowns for me for Lamar Jackson, Ben.
In DRS, we cruise to the over for Mahomes of 1.5 on Monday night. I think both of these quarterbacks go over those passing touchdown props. And when you look at what Lamar Jackson did in the initial game this year against Cincinnati, of course, Burrow nearly 405 touchdowns, albeit a costly interception late. Lamar Jackson's performance, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, 55 yards on the ground. DRS, Lamar Jackson only 3 carries to your point for just 4 yards last week. The first time this year in any of the 9 games that Lamar Jackson has played that he had less than 40 rushing yards. And last week they didn't need it. They were blowing out the Broncos. They won 41-10. He was 16 of 19 for 280 in 3 touchdowns. As many touchdown passes as incompletions. In fact, dating back to that Bengals game in week number 5, Lamar has gone for 280 plus in 5 consecutive games. No reason to think that slows down tonight. And Donnie, when the Ravens have won this year, Derrick Henry has had at least 92 yards on the ground. He was less than that in loss to the Browns 2 weeks ago, back over the century mark last week against Denver. The Bengals have had running back issues this year, as Zach Moss is now injured. They made the deadline deal to get Juice Herbert from Chicago in the second-year pro out of Illinois. Chase Brown has kind of emerged as that lead back. Also really great in what he does in the receiving game as well for Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense. Compare those running backs for us, if you will, for Thursday night.
I love this. This is why we like these games. Are we worried about the 2 quarterbacks, Ben? No. Are we worried about the 2 technical number ones for each team, which is Jamar Chase and Zay Flowers? No, they're going to get theirs. And the running backs here, there's no committee by running back on either one of these teams. You have a stone-cold stunner out there in Derrick Henry that you know is going to be rushing for 75-plus yards and definitely is going to hit pay dirt. And they say, hey, what's that in plus 120, plus 130? And you're like, no, you are paying through the nose to get a touchdown prop here out of Derrick Henry. You see that at a minus 270 price. But now you see Chase Brown with no Moss. He is their lead dog. Backfield on third downs and first downs and second downs. He's going to get the goal line carries and the opportunities on third down to catch the ball. So when I look at this game, it's almost like the perfect storm on offense. Yes, I understand it's not automatic when you just take good guys and you expect them to have great nights. But we're not worried about man, I really missed out. And again, it could happen. Rashad Bateman, 8 catches for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. No, we don't think that's going to happen. That's Zay Flowers or Yoshivash. Wow, 7 catches for 113 yards. Jamar Chase didn't get anything. No, we expect Jamar Chase to get those. So from a receiving perspective and a running back perspective, I love this game. And yes, I do think if you have a parlay card tonight, Derrick Henry, absolutely anytime touchdown minus 270, he can add some value to it.
He has scored 11 touchdowns this year. He has scored in all but 1 game this year for Baltimore. He has scored multiple touchdowns in 3 of the 8 games he has found pay dirt. DRS, and it's pretty simple for the Ravens. It should not be a surprise. It's one of the reasons they added Derrick Henry. When they're great on the ground, they are often unstoppable. Derrick Henry has gone over 89.5 rushing yards, his prop tonight against the Bengals, in all 6 wins this year for the flock. Again, it seems rather simple. It is. The receivers in the outlook That's next. So let's look at the receivers for Thursday Night Football. As Donnie has said, the number one wideouts are there. Jamar Chase has a much higher prop as the one for Cincy, 80.5, than evens out Zay Flowers on the other side for the Ravens, 59 and a hook. Mike Gesicki, huge last week, $120 in terms of his receiving yardage output, 2 of the 5 touchdown tosses that Joe Burrow threw. Mark Andrews, Donnie, an intriguing component of tonight, if I do say so myself, because Cincinnati, of course, was trying to make its comeback once again last year after starting 0-2. They were playing much better football entering this Thursday night game. Short week, week 11, not week 10, but week 11 against Baltimore. And, of course, that was the end of the season for both Mark Andrews and Joe Burrow. 42.5 is the number on Andrews. How do you handicap the receivers who will be catching all the passes tonight, Donnie, on a night where we expect both quarterbacks to go off and to probably go over their passing touchdown props?
Again, it's hard to find a game, which is why I was so excited to start the week when we saw this game coming up on Thursday night, because it's everything that I like to see. Again, dynamic quarterbacks, very good running backs, very good weather conditions, 2 defenses that can be had on the back end. But are we playing up to, let's just say, the value to some of these players? Because if you say, Donnie, who should dominate tonight? You know it's going to be, Ben. The usual suspects out here. Jamar Chase, but where's he sitting? Around 80 in this game. So you're going to have an average to really good night just to cash that. If you take a look at Zay Flowers, 60.5, average to good night to cash that. Or are we starting to slide it down and say, if we're going to get, let's just call it 55 points in this game to come around that total, you look at Rashad Bateman, 28.5. It's not that much. Deontay Johnson, who you know wants to get, you know what? It doesn't have to be the lead dog, but you want to ingratiate him into that offense. You're going to leave him left on the sideline with 1 catch for 6 yards, or do you want to get him a couple touches early to say, you know what? Welcome to the team. That's only 20.5. You switch it over to the other side. Mike Gesicki, who you know, but I was high on last week, took him on Pro Football Today, plus 350 to score a touchdown, ends up with 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, and 100 yards. But his numbers, Ben, last week when I liked him here saying, I think he could do some damage, 26.5, 27.5. He's almost double that tonight at 49.5. So you're not sneaking up on anybody. But Eric All Jr., that backup tight end, is no longer there with the ACL injury. So it is going to be all Gesicki. And you can see over the past couple weeks, which includes the Eagles game, that you're finally getting comfortable with Joe Burrow and Mike Gesicki. I mean, the dude's like 6'9" out there. You got to see him as a target. And if you're losing, the passing game is going to have to go through him for somewhat. But Mark Andrews, 42.5. For me, I like both of the tight ends. If you say, Donnie, do you like Gesicki over 50 yards or Mark Andrews over that 42.5? I probably go Mark Andrews, to be honest. I like the fact that Likely is out, so you're probably expecting 6 to 7 targets maybe coming Andrews' way. That should get it here. But from a touchdown perspective, like Zay Flowers should score a touchdown tonight. Same thing with Jamar Chase, should score a touchdown tonight. Because if I think both of the quarterbacks have chances to go over 1.5 touchdown passes, somebody's catching that. And it's not going to be running backs. It's going to be tight ends, and it's going to be wide receivers. So give me that action there.
Deontay Johnson in his Baltimore debut, 20.5. Again, what exactly is the familiarity like with the scheme with Lamar Jackson at this stage? That number probably will be on the uptick the next few weeks. Rashad Bateman, over 28.5. DRS, I mentioned that Lamar has thrown for 280 plus in 5 consecutive games, dating back to the opening matchup this year against the Bengals. In that first game in Cincy, 8 targets, only 4 grabs for Bateman, but 58 yards and a touchdown. Fully healthy this year, the former number 1 overall pick, or not overall pick, first round selection out of Minnesota, has been so much better this season. I look at that number and think it is still a slight discount. Mark Andrews has scored 4 touchdowns this year, all 4 in the 3 games before last week for Baltimore in that rout of Denver. And again, DRS, this is a divisional duel. This is an AFC North rivalry, and it's a game, albeit on a short week, that has huge implications. The Ravens, minus 220 to win this division. Baltimore enters the second half 6-3, but the Steelers actually have the better record at 6-2.
Yeah, and look, this is going to go a long way, not necessarily for me, because let's just say Cincinnati goes on the road here and ends up beating the Baltimore Ravens. I still think the Ravens have a legitimate chance to win a world championship. Yes, I know they've lost some crazy games this year to the Vegas Raiders and also the Cleveland Browns, but their top end is better than a lot of other teams' top end. But this is a game where if Cincinnati wins, their numbers drastically are on the rise here, cutting some of those prices maybe even in half at this point, because the expectations is they're not supposed to win tonight. Getting T. Higgins back next week, hopefully, after this mini bye, maybe you should start buying back on the Bengals, but I'm not going to do that. I didn't like them before the season. I don't like them now, and certainly I don't think they win tonight. But if they do, that's the mover here, Ben, not necessarily the Ravens.
The playoff price is -114. We'll talk more about that later on. My mistake, Deontay Johnson did play last week.
Yeah.
Didn't really do all that much for Baltimore. His second game, though, with the Ravens. Football with Mark Zinno live right here on this Thursday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. From the college ranks back to the start of week number 10 of this NFL season in 2024, Zinno gives his thoughts on a Thursday night banger in the Charm City between the Ravens and the Bengals. Zinno, Baltimore, 6.5-point favorite against Cincinnati. Crucial AFC North rivalry, a game with significance now in the second half. Total stands at 52 and a hook, a very lofty number for a short week Thursday night football game. How are you seeing these numbers for the Thursday night football game between the Ravens and the Bengals?
Well, one, highest total we've seen on Thursday night football in 3 years. That should tell you something here about these two teams. But I think it's well documented. I pretty much despise Zach Taylor as a coach, and beyond Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. They're flat out awful. That said, I'm backing the Bengals tonight plus the points here on Thursday night football. Look, the Bengals are a desperate team right now. They need a win. They need a division win. And in order to save their season, they have to put, stack wins on top of one another and put their best foot forward. Not only that, seven of the last 8 contests between these two teams, guys, have ended one of two ways: in a one-score game or a Bengals blowout. So the Bengals have always handled the Ravens well and played them tough, and I expect them to do it here. The Bengals should have won that first matchup if the aforementioned Zach Taylor wasn't a putz and a horrible coach and a disgusting play caller. They would have won that game. But all those things I just said about him are true, and that's the variance that I'm bringing in here, betting the Cincinnati Bengals because, well, he's an idiot and should be fired for my accounts by all. He's just not a very good coach, period. Like I have more data to speak of than you can imagine on Zach Taylor. That said, again, too much here for me to lay in a division game on a Thursday night on a short week, which favors the lower scoring game, favors the Bengals here, so I'll take the points.
Some low-hanging fruit in this game, Mark. How do you approach it? Like Derrick Henry's prop here at the FanDuel Sportsbook for rushing is 89.5 yards. His touchdown prop just dropped, to -260. How do you approach Derrick Henry tonight? Is this auto bet all of the time?
Well, Bengals defense is bad. So, yeah, it feels that way. I would be more inclined to take at probably a better number the longest rush for Derrick Henry. If he gets something in the 12, 15-yard range, something under 20, he's probably likely to have one of those if he's going to hit that number. But I'll give you one more guy to target in props, who's had even better success. That's Jamar Chase against the Ravens defense. In his career, he's averaged just under 100 yards a game receiving. Last time out, he had 10 receptions for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Ravens. Like, hey, we know the Ravens can stop the run, but does anybody take note that the Ravens have the worst pass defense in the NFL? And I don't want to hear, it's because they lead, it's all garbage time. No, BS. It's a bad pass defense and has been all year long. You can throw on this team. Part of the reason also why I like the Bengals, because Jamar Chase is going to have a huge night against them. Jamar Chase, anytime touchdown, feels pretty tasty, if you ask me. Going into this thing, I know that number 80.5 is really, really high. But for the most part, Chase should have a big night against a bad Ravens defense.
And Joe Burrow did throw 5 touchdowns, not just last week. Chase actually did not have a receiving score last week. Of course, he had a few against the Ravens the first time these two teams squared off in week number 5. Zinno, it's always interesting to have a divisional duel as a short week Thursday night football game because the implications are higher. For Cincinnati, you mentioned it. It is a must-win game. After starting 0-3, there is limited margin of error always, even against one of the best teams in your division and in the conference. -114 is Cincy's price right now to see the playoffs at the end of tonight, at the end of this season. Do you believe the Bengals will be a playoff team in the AFC?
No. I told you guys that from the beginning of the year that they weren't a playoff team. I told you guys from the beginning of the year that they might finish dead last in this division. And if the Cleveland Browns weren't the Cleveland Browns, guess what? They would be in last place in this division. So this is not a good football team. It won't be a good football team this year. There's too much stacked against them, and they don't have the horses in the barn to compete. So Bengals missed the playoffs. I said that from August.
This game would be very important, of course, for Cincinnati. If they drop it, they are going to be 4-6. However, with that being said, there are still opportunities elsewhere to make up some ground still because of how weak the AFC has been across the board. Quickly, Zinno, before we let you go, final 30 seconds, where do you stack the Ravens in your tier of elite in the AFC?
They're the best team in the AFC right now. They are. I mean, power rankings wise, I mean, the Chiefs' offense is impotent. It's not good. They can't seem to get more than 23, 24 points a game. And the Ravens, and it's just a matter of, can the Ravens execute on the defensive side of the ball, and can they do it when it matters in the playoffs?
That we shall see. That is the question, of course, for Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore club. Mark Zinno, we appreciate the time as always. Hour number 3 is up next. Live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final to set the stage for Thursday Night Football, the start of the second half of this NFL season. Week 10 kicks tonight with an awesome game, a marquee matchup, a divisional duel, an AFC North rivalry between the Bengals and the Ravens. We'll talk Thursday Night Football from the lens of the public in just a moment. We'll have some hardwood handicaps, your 2 premier NBA handicappers back on the network, DRS and myself, and a Thursday night slate in college hoops. Big Ten teams, multiple, already playing their second game of the season on the 4th day of this young college basketball season, and then the prop perspective with Tom Vecchio for Thursday night as well. Ton to get to here, DRS, in this final hour of a Thursday on TEL.
Love to see it here. And again, we're in the month of November on the East Coast here with still good weather. Let's enjoy it while we got it, which means we should be getting some points tonight, which we're going to hit in just a few moments. But there is a nice card tonight, and it's a great weekend of football. But by the way, Ben, can we just keep on taking like laps? And it's seriousness. LSU, Alabama, 2 teams with 2 losses. Is that a 12 o'clock kickoff? 1 o'clock kickoff normally? Like, this game is huge, and we are still loving this. And the fact that either one of these teams takes a loss, I think I saw, like, the low man on the totem pole is, like LSU, if they lose, they still have, like, a 10% chance to get in the college football playoff with 3 losses. The greatest college football season, people, is playing out right in front of you right now, and I love it.
I love that you are a fan of expansion.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It could serve as an eliminator, but even 3 losses might not sideline at least an SEC team from CFP contention. In the initial top 12 of the college football playoff rankings, 4 teams from the Big Ten, 4 teams from the SEC, 1 each from the ACC and the Big 12, the independent Notre Dame, in a group of 5 school out of the Mountain West, Boise State. If you are the ACC and Big 12, you don't love the look right now with multiple teams from the SEC with multiple losses standing in front of the second best teams in your conference. But that remains to be another question for another day. DRS, let's hear from the people to get you set for Thursday Night Football. What is the best bet to start Week 10 in this awesome game between the Bengals and the Ravens? It was the question in Fade the Public. Pretty even splits here out of the public. At SportsGrid on Twitter. What is the best bet for Thursday Night Football? The Ravens as nearly a touchdown home favorite. Cincy getting 6.5 points on the road in a short week divisional duel. Over a very high total for a short week Thursday night game, 52 and a hook, or under that number. Most of the public, DRS, back in the Bengals, getting 6.5 points, but it's not overwhelming. 37.6%. Over 52.5, 28.6%. Slightly less than 23 on the Ravens as the home favorite. Which way did Donnie Rightside vote in this Fade the Public poll?
For me, I actually voted for the Ravens minus 6.5, which is only 22%. So sort of that fading the public, taking the Bengals at plus 6.5. The fan of me would love to take the Bengals plus 6.5 because that means they're going to be in the game all the way and probably be a good running mate towards that Ravens offense. The over also, I would love to bet the over 52.5. Not really a total backer per se anymore, more of a team total guy if I go that direction. But I can't fault to see where the public's going because just based on the history of these two franchises and the way they play in the game they just played early in the season, it should be a close one. But I do think the Ravens win this football game, and I think they're talented enough to be able to pull away. The one thing I know, that's a bad defense for the Bengals. Can Joe Burrow pull a rabbit out of a hat? Yes, he can. Did he play very well last weekend without T. Higgins throwing 5 touchdown passes and technically 6 because he threw a pick 6 the other way to the Raiders? But the previous week before is the game I want to focus on, where the Philadelphia Eagles came into town with a talented offense and a decent defense at that time and just took Cincinnati apart. You take away T. Higgins from that offense, you can more center it on Jamar Chase to try to slow him down. I just don't know if the Bengals can keep up. So if the Ravens win this game, which I think they do, I'm going to lay the 6.5. So I'm fading the public with the 23 percenters out there.
So the public on a roll right now. They had the Buccaneers getting 9.5 on Monday night against Kansas City. Of course, KC remains unbeaten at 8-0 in overtime, but Tampa did cover. The public has won the last few in the Fade the Public poll. They are now 8-7, still a near 500 split. I think all the metrics tell us the Bengals could be the right side in this game. Joe Burrow, as an underdog of 3+ points in his NFL career, 16-3 against the spread. 1-1 ATS as an underdog this year, but did cover when they were getting 5.5 on the road in week number 2 against Kansas City. The only road loss this year, DRS, for the Bengals. They have won their other 3 games. They are a perfect 4-0 ATS away from Cincinnati. Where did that game against Philadelphia happen? At home. Where did the first game against Baltimore happen? At home. In terms of the total, it makes a lot of sense, even on a short week in a divisional rivalry, to see this number north of 50 at 52 and a hook. You heard the stat from Mark Zinno, the highest Thursday night football short week total we have seen in nearly 3 years. The Ravens have gone over in 8 of 9 games this season. The Bengals have played to the over a ton as well. The first matchup between the two, DRS, was well over by the time we even got to overtime, but it ended at 41-38. I think you and I said it as we previewed this game to start hour 2. It's probably not a game to say, you know what, too many points, under. It might just not be a game to say, although I expect offense, I'm going to bet the steep part of the market at the over of 52.5.
Exactly. And look at the Ravens team total. You're not getting anybody. You say, Donnie, the Ravens going to score a lot of points. Yes. It's like, okay, can they get it to the high 20s? Sure they can. 30.5, which means you're looking at 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Can they do that against the Bengals? Yes. But if anything goes wrong, that puts that a little bit into jeopardy. So you do look at the 52.5, Ben, and you say to yourself, are we expecting a lot of points in this game? But we just keep breaking it down where defenses can be had, 2 great quarterbacks, a lot of weapons on both sides to get after it, more so from the Ravens side. But it's not something that I want to bet into and say, yes, we're going to get a minimum of 55, because there are other factors playing into it. Weather's not one of them in November, which I love, but it still is a divisional opponent. They know each other. It's a short work week here. There's a lot on the line. And yes, this could be an elimination game for Cincinnati. So are we just going all out without T. Higgins and saying, yo, let's throw it 45 times then against the Ravens here with basically 1 true wide receiver? I don't know if you do that tonight. So that's why I'm shying away from the total, even though I think it goes over. I do think, again, both of these teams have the abilities to hit their team totals. I'm not betting them. I'm just more on that prop side here. I do think we get a good game plan tonight with 2 good quarterbacks. They'll move the football. But as we know, Ben, we see it play out a lot. Stall drives, field goals. Stall drives, field goals. Turnover in the red zone blows up a total in the 50s.
For sure. And if you have a few of those, 1 or 2 early, see you later. And maybe that's a time live as you're watching NFL football in-game live game day that you can find those opportunities alongside Donnie Rightside, Joe Lisi, and Kevin Walsh. DRS, if you think there is going to be some points, and I do, I don't think this is going to be 17-14, right?
Yeah.
Here's a way I would play it. We have talked about both quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Both have juice on the over. Joey B at -168 against the worst secondary in football, and we know Lamar Jackson can add it up as well. Combining those two for both quarterbacks to throw multiple touchdown passes tonight, +158, an angle I would approach and a number I kind of like.
No, it makes some sense. That's the way you're going to be scoring here. The one thing that makes me just a little bit nervous, and it shouldn't, because I told you last week my best bet was over 1.5 touchdown passes with basically 1 wide receiver on Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is going to find those guys. I'm not even doubting. It's crazy. I'm not even doubting Lamar Jackson throws 2, but I'm just looking for, I don't need Chase Brown stealing any touchdowns inside the red zone if you're looking at maybe 3 total here for those Bengals.
Yeah, you never know. And Derrick Henry is -260 to find Pater. That would more than likely be on the ground. More of the early line next.